Ball State.
Yeah, I mean, started out like I always do. Obviously, we're really pleased with the outcome of the game on Saturday. It was a hard-fought game between two good teams. I certainly thought we had our opportunities, and especially after looking at the film, after being down 10-0, coming back and getting that score right before halftime. That I thought the second half we had about 3 early drives there. We were moving the ball and had an opportunity to get some points, and some penalties took us out of it. Some critical errors at some critical times, and certainly then the game, got into a back and forth scenario after those, and they were able to tie it up at half, or at the end of the game with that. So was disappointed that we had those penalties, disappointed in some key penalties then when they were driving. They had a couple penalties that kept their drive alive to go ahead and tie it up at the end. Just overall, a ton of things that are controllable that we saw in that game to not have that go to overtime. And certainly want to address those things, have addressed those things, and are moving forward from there. When you get into the overtime session, then really it was a great response from our offense after they scored a touchdown. We scored a touchdown. And we got the ball right back, and we were down on the 3-yard line and had an unfortunate fumble. And thought our defense did a whale of a job holding them to 3 and out. And then I don't know if we got lucky or we put good pressure on the kick, maybe a little both, and he missed it. And then defense came out again, held them to 3 out. They made the kick. And then offense was pretty determined with a nice drive led by Marcus, and certainly his 3rd down scramble set up the whole thing to let Trey punch it in there, I think, on 3 or 4 consecutive runs. At the end, we certainly weren't going to take any chances when we're down in there that close with that. So it was obviously overtime is an emotional roller coaster, and it's a back and forth seesaw event, but we were certainly happy with it. On to Ball State, probably the best quarterback, not probably, the most complete quarterback we've played to date. And I have a ton of respect for this guy. And then he has some significant weapons around him in the 3 backs. Their wide receivers, in fact, their wide receiver who lit it up last year's high school teammate of his, or last game, high school teammate of his. Their O-line is athletic. They move around very well. They run the ball extremely effective with those backs, and they have nice athletic tight ends too that are involved in the run game. This is by far the biggest challenge we've had defensively, as far as a complete offense. With all due respect to everybody we've played so far, this is one that they'll line up underneath center in the shotgun, traditional pro style to spread elements, and they keep you on your toes, certainly with the different tempos. Turning to defense, they are running around, and they are just active as all get out, try to create confusion, movement every play. Just a defense that wants to keep you guessing and really is predicated on probably disrupting the O-line so that they can get people free to get you down on the ground. And when they've been effective, they've been right there in games and winning games, if not right there. When they've been turning the ball over and forcing 3 and outs, their whole team feeds off that. And certainly, we're going to have, our work cut out for us. So offensively, we have not been to date as consistent as we need to be and explosive as we need to be, and we have explosive players. Combination of all that, coaching, play calling, execution, all of it. And you've seen at all of it, when it lines up, it's really explosive and really good. Just haven't seen enough of that. With that, so we're working to do that in the kicking game. As far as Ball State, they have a solid kicking game with a punter. They changed punters and got a new punter in there, and then their kicking game has been solid as well too, as well as their return game, their kickoff team. I think they're leading the MAC in punt returns. They only have a couple of them, but they've both been dynamic. So again, it's going on the road in conference, a team you play every year. You have a ton of information about. They are probably the most improved team that we've seen. I think you can say that. A lot of what went on last year, they played a lot of young guys, and now those guys are still playing, but they got their guys that were hurt back as well. So you're talking about good, experienced, youthful team. And it sounds a lot like what we are as well. So they're executing at a high level. They were in every single one of their games, maybe with the exception of one so far to date. So it's going to be a huge challenge. And these conference games are always 4-quarter games. So with that, we can open it up for questions.
You've always said you like this game because you play for a trophy.
Yeah, I think trophies in college football are special. It makes it unique. Like, you don't have pro games. And there might be some in high school. None when I grew up that you had a trophy game during the regular season in high school, and there aren't any in the pros either. But you talk about all the different trophies that are out there in college football, and I think this one is right in there, and it's super. I think that's a neat tradition in college football.
Do the guys talk about it during the week or not?
Oh, absolutely. We're well aware of it. I mean, it is something that we value.
Coach, just what can you say about Ty's effort this week, getting his first score for you guys?
Yeah.
The work he's
Well, and what a critical moment too, huh? So not only his first touchdown of his career, he kind of did the Brandy Chastain at the end. You see him down on his knees with his arms up. Kind of gave him a little hard time about that, but just a crucial moment, a well executed route, a great ball, and the best part about the whole play was the catch. So super happy with him, but that's a senior playing like a senior, and that's what you got to have.
With Harbison, I mean, you talked about staying with the hot hand. I would assume that happened on Saturday where he had, over 30 carries, I think it was. And,
Yeah.
And I mean, normally you guys don't carry it that much.
No, you like to see that spread out a little, especially with running the ball. I think it was 60 attempts or something that I saw. You'd like to be more in that 20-20-20 time frame. I knew after the fumble I wanted to get back in Trey's hands. I did know that if we were afforded the opportunity, and we were, because I don't want a running back to sit on that. But certainly, he was just, he was running powerfully. And Trey ran well, and Marcus ran well too. A little bit of game flow, a little bit of things like that. We just have to, I'd like to see those evened out a little more.
You mentioned that, the explosiveness is there. It's just not lining up between the play calls and the. So
Yeah,
what's that look like on your end, on the play calling end? What do you think?
Yeah, we haven't had as many. Listen, we're not calling plays to get 3 yards. Okay, so let's make sure we're understanding that. We're calling every play that we call is designed to go, and it's true of every offense. So timing, maybe, of certain misdirection or pass plays or different things, I think has been a little bit off. We just have not been as explosive as we need. You've seen us be explosive this year against top-level competition, and we need more of it is what we need. So it's not like it's not there, just haven't had enough of it.
So basically just lacking consistency on offense then.
Yeah, I think that's a key thing to everything. And then you throw in some key penalties in the second half, and now you really look like you're not explosive because you go from 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 6 like 3 times in the game. Well, that's a whole different ballgame on that. So it is consistency, and I think from everybody. I think Marcus Childers played a great game. I really do. He had a couple pass plays called back, a couple penalties called back, and you add those in. I think he had one of those games we're used to seeing around here, over 300 yards total offense. Probably, he rushed for close to 100 yards, only threw for 120, but like I say, a couple of those pass plays called back. I think he's up over 200, and then we're where we normally expect a quarterback to be. But he took a big step because he ran the ball extremely hard in that game.
Just from an emotional standpoint, what does a win like this do for the room? I know you guys
Yeah.
were concerned after starting 1-3, but just a win like that, what does it do for the emotional makeup of the team?
Yeah, well, it's exciting, right? That's the number one thing. It's exciting when you can win a game that is so back and forth. And I'm sure they feel like they had opportunities that they should have put the game away too. So you have that, but then the way the game goes in the end, and then you get to win, it's exciting. What does it do for us going forward? Maybe gives us a little confidence. You feel better, but you understand each week you get 24 hours, you got to let it go, and then you got to get back to work, because this team we're about to play has a whole different set of challenges.
And Coach, you kind of touched on Childers, playing a good game this past week. How do you think he's grown, throughout the course of the season, on both, the passing game and in the run game?
Yeah, well, it hasn't been consistent enough. It hasn't even been to last year's standards yet. And now last game was standing. I don't think he ever ran the ball as hard as he ran it last week. And I thought he threw it, very, very well. I mean, he was 20 of 35 last week, which is a good number of pass attempts. Like, see the completion attempts or completion percentage a little higher. But overall, when you look at it, it hasn't been as good as it needs to be, or maybe it was. But that's the beauty about football, man. You get another opportunity this week.
The last 2 weeks have been a little different in college football. I mean, you beat Eastern 11 games in a row now, and then you've got Ball State a 9-game winning streak. I mean, you just don't see that very often.
Yeah, and I think back, I got this question earlier in the week too about Ball State, and I think back to all the times that we played them in all my time here, and every game's been so different from 2011. We needed a last-second field goal to beat them. 2012, Lynch scored, I think, 2 touchdowns with under 2 minutes left in the game to pull that one away. 2013 was probably one of the best football games I've ever been a part of in my life. And then 14 was a close game. 15 was Riley Neal's. He was a true freshman out here. And I've said this, is that 15 with Riley and Jimmy Garoppolo in 13 are the 2 best opposing quarterback performances I've ever seen. Those 2 right there were certainly good, and that was just an old-fashioned shootout. And then in 16, we went over there, and that was a tight game again, 4-quarter game. And then last year, I think, was probably the first one that was a little different, but that had a lot of reasons behind it, I think. So all those games have been different, I can tell you that. The majority of them have been 4-quarter games, so I don't doubt that will happen this week too.
You mentioned Marcus's Childers game, and the stats part of it being very positive. But you look at the yards per attempt or yards per completion, either one being is kind of really low. Just is that kind of by the design? Is that him just kind of checking down, not seeing anything deep?
Some of those are by design. Yeah, I mean, listen, I should qualify that. Is that we're not designing a pass play to go for 2 yards. Okay, some of those are. Listen, we're taking advantage and maybe throwing a quick screen out there that if you get a block and make a guy miss, it can go for a lot. And, I think we were getting some good yards on that, but maybe left some more out there. But he's delivering the ball where he should be. And again, I think he had 2 big plays called back that, I think one was a catch and one I highly doubt that the guy was downfield, but, they called it on both cases. So, the stats are the stats. I think if all you're doing is reading packets and numbers, I think you're going to question them all day. And I think if you watch, how we played last week, I don't think you're questioning that at all.
Considering their offense, you kind of tweaked the defense a little bit differently maybe this week, or not a major change, but what they offer?
I mean, every week you have to kind of morph your defense to what they're good at, and you have to try to take that away and expose their weaknesses. That's every week. But within that, you don't want to go too far outside the box, because you are who you are, right? And you try to do something completely different, that doesn't work good on defense. So, yes, we will make our normal adjustments, but probably not any further than that.
Has Smalls been downgraded from day to day? Because it's not even listed as an or on the 2 deeps. Or is he still at a day to day?
Yeah, I mean, we just got some news back yesterday on him. he's not day-to-day anymore. He's more week by week, is really the best way to say it. We're hopeful. I don't know all the ins and outs of the doctor stuff. I got all the information, but I don't understand half of it. So I know he's more week to week than he is anything else.
So he's out for this week for.
Yeah, he's out for this week for sure.
Health-wise, how else are you guys?
I mean, listen, I think you're going into week 6, which is really the midpoint of the season. And if you look at the teams, the 5 teams we've played so far, extremely physical football teams. Extremely. I don't know if anybody's played 5 games against 5 more physical teams. I mean, Eastern and Central are as physical as anybody of those other 3. We are bumped and bruised, there's no doubt. But I say that, everybody in the nation is bumped and bruised. So, we just got to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and keep working.
Your 2-3 record may be a little deceiving since they gave, Notre Dame and Indiana fairly good games.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Notre Dame, they had it to a 1-score game at the end. And in Indiana, maybe it got away from them a little bit earlier, but it certainly was in the second half, and it was still, back and forth affair.
So then, I know you guys rely heavily on your run game. Is that something that you will continue to do for the next game?
Yeah, every game. You can't. Football is still one up front. I don't care what the pass stats look like for anybody. If you're throwing it for 400 yards a game or you're throwing it for 100 yards a game, football is still one up front, O-line and D-line. And it's just the way it is. Whether you're a quarterback guru or whether you're a cornerback specialist or whatever you are in the coaching ranks coming up, talk to every coach in this game and they'll say the same thing. Football is one up front.
And then for Childers, is there anything that you see maybe during practice or outside of the field for the gridiron where you see him taking those next steps, to try to become the best that he can for the team?
If I didn't, then we'd do something about that. You know what I mean? If I didn't believe in him and know how he works in practice and how well he's going, and seen it before in games, and saw it last week, we would make a change. So certainly feel good about where he's at, and I'd just like to see more execution.
Are you hesitant a little bit to add things to the offense this year, considering you just want to get what's on the right now?
Yeah, that's always a balancing act, right? I mean, when you're not as consistent as you want to be offensively, there's always that, well, if we do this play, it might create an explosive, but it also takes away from repping the things that you need to rep. So we always change offensively. We're never going to stop being aggressive as far as how we game plan and what we go about, but probably some of the true, away from our strength stuff, maybe we won't do as much, but every team is different. Just because, and I say this, we had a lot of guys coming back. We're still a really young team. If you look at us across the board, we're an extremely young team. We don't have many seniors starting for us. Yes, we have a lot of experience, but with that youth comes is that just because they were one way last year doesn't mean they're that way this year. Kids change, and we have to change with them and find out what their strengths are.
Well, you got to find a role for them, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt. You have to find what they're best at and keep doing that.
Questions for the players?
Ty, first touchdown, just what did that mean to you? And Coach had high praise for you doing that in a critical moment as well.
And the only thing I really say about it is it couldn't happen at a better time. I was just excited when the play was called. I was excited that I and Marcus and everyone executed it right, and that it happened in overtime and kept us in the game.
Trick, why don't you look at their offense? Just what do you think you guys are going to do, especially the quarterback they have? Just how are you guys prepared coming into this week?
Then we're going to prepare very well. We're going to play fast. We got a good game plan. He got a pretty good quarterback. He got pretty good weapons around him. We run their system very well. We like our matchups. We like what we can do versus them.
It's for everybody, Coach talked about how there wasn't a lot of panic after starting 1-3, but to get a win like that in that setting, just what does it do for the emotional makeup of the team? I'm sure that gives you guys a bit of a lift moving forward, right?
Antonio?
It definitely does. Any win gives you a lift, so we want to keep building on that. It was an emotional roller coaster, but we stayed solid, and that's it.
Trey?
To see our offense down 10-0 in the first quarter and to know that we can come back from that deficit in the conference game definitely gave us momentum moving forward. Being 1-3 and winning the conference game definitely means something to us because our ultimate goal is a MAC championship. So to win that game gave us a little bit of momentum.
TQ?
Yeah, that game, it was a lot to learn from, even though we won. Both sides of the ball, we feel like we could have did a lot better, controlling the momentum of the game. It's just a lot to learn from that game.
Ty?
I mean, if anything, I think that game, brought us even closer together as a team. You know, we had a lot of things go wrong, and nobody ever put their head down. Everyone just kept going and kept trying to win the game, and that's what ended up happening.
Trey, I was surprised you got the ball 32 times last game. I mean, a little surprised you never get called that often.
Yeah, I mean, I was just ready when the time was called. You know, nobody really knows how many touches they're going to get, and honestly, like in our running back room, nobody really cares who gets the most carries. It's just if we get a win, that's the only thing that really matters. So I was ready when my number was called.
Did you know you had that many during the game, or just were surprised afterwards? Or
I was a little surprised afterwards. I didn't really know because cause during the game you're not really worried about like stats and individual things. So I wasn't really too focused on that, but I was a bit surprised. I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit surprised like on the way home from the game. Yeah.
Ty, what was the feedback you got from your hometown, your school, your friends, just having a momentous, achievement like that, getting your first touchdown? Because I know the support feedback in Stockton is pretty passionate.
My phone almost died before I got a chance to reply to everybody. It was just blowing up, just friends and family from all over just congratulating me on the win and then the catch as well. It was pretty special. It was pretty special to see everyone back home watching and supporting and stuff like that.
And to represent that conference, which obviously gets a ton of respect across the state at the high school level, but to continue putting the NUIC on the map like that, how special is that? Because, that conference turns out talent every year.
It does, and I think, it's really special to me to represent the NUIC, and I think, like you said, it is, one of the greatest conferences in the state, and to be able to represent that is pretty awesome to me. It feels pretty cool.
And what do you guys feel is going to be the biggest challenge coming up against Ball State?
Trey?
We're never going to take any game this year lightly. Every conference game matters to us. So going into the game, we're honestly we're taking it game by game. To win each MAC game to get a MAC championship. So we're just taking it day by day and game by game, honestly.
TQ?
My biggest challenge this week, I'll just say getting the quarterback on the ground, getting him to get confused, make him rattle back there, the passing team, fit the passing game, so defense side.
Ty?
Our biggest challenge probably on offense is going to be they play kind of a solid defense that we haven't seen a lot from an opponent this year. We've played against some of it kind of in practice before against our own defense, but not yet this year in a game. So it'll be interesting to see how we adjust and how we come out and execute on Saturday, and hopefully it bodes well for us.
Antonio?
Our biggest challenge on defense will be to execute every play and to continue to improve our defense.
Guys, on defense, Coach said that this is the best quarterback you guys have seen so far. I mean, the film you've seen already, is that pretty much the case right now?
Antonio?
Yes, sir. He been slinging the ball around a lot, so he's a big guy. He's mobile. He can pass good. He got weapons around him, so I would say that. So we're just gonna execute our assignments and try to stop him.
TQ?
Same thing, piggyback off what Fern said. Yes, he got weapons around him, and he run his system very well. long as we execute our assignment, we should be good.
You guys also talk also more on the line on the game that you guys are playing for a trophy. I mean, this is the only time you do that all season long. I mean, Coach said you guys have been talking about that, and you've won it the last 9 years in a row. So, I mean, can you guys talk about that too, playing for something like that, keeping it in DeKalb?
Oh, yes, sir. It's Stock Week. Everybody says it's an ugly trophy, but we love it. We want to keep it here in DeKalb, so we're going to do whatever we got to do to keep that trophy here with us.
Trey?
Just like what Antonio said, it's a stalk week. We're actually playing for a trophy, and like you said, it is an ugly trophy.
It is, yeah.
You know, it is something that we hold dear to our hearts. So it's been here every year I've been here, so we won't look to give it back.
Ty?
Same thing about the end of what Trey said. I've been here, this is my 5th year, and I've never not had the stock here, so we intend fully on keeping it here, and I'm sure that they're ready to take it back, but we got to do everything in our power to not let that happen.
Third one?
Yeah. The trophy been here since we got here. Well, all of us got here, everyone on the team, so it's our trophy. We just want to keep the trophy here.
A very important question, just to get Traquan and Ty on the record. Ugly trophy or not ugly trophy?
I don't know if it's that ugly. I was around a lot of corn, but it's pretty loud. The trophy's loud. It's
Very loud. I like the trophy.
We love it, though.
We all love it, that's for sure.
Ty, with you being here at NIU, will this maybe give a chance to other guys in that conference? I mean, it's smaller schools, obviously, that maybe have a chance to play Division I and maybe over here at NIU?
Can you say the
It
question?
Your
gives you an
success.
opportunity, other players maybe in the future
Oh,
in your
absolutely.
conference. It's the
Absolutely.
smallest conference, but
Absolutely. I
have a
like-
chance to play D1 and go to
I
NIU.
would love to see my success, you know, give other people in my area and from small towns around just this area to have that opportunity to play Division I football, whether it's here, hopefully it's here, or whether it's somewhere else. Just
Were there
to-
guys in high school that you thought could have played at D1 that didn't maybe go that way, or?
Absolutely, and part of it's recruiting, part of it's, you know, people not knowing about it,
Yeah.
you know, how it works and stuff like that too. So I would love to hopefully let my success be kind of a segue into more people being able to play college football from that.
Was there ever a moment where you thought you might not score a touchdown in your time here? I know you've been through a lot in your time here, but just to finally get that one, was there a sense of relief knowing that you finally got that one under your belt?
A little bit. I mean, there's definitely a sense of relief, but I'd always, in the back of my mind, knew that I would probably have an opportunity at least for one. Not necessarily if I would get one or not, but I knew I'd have the opportunity and I'd have to do my part on the other end. So yeah, I mean, I never really thought, you know, gosh, I need a touchdown, but I always obviously wanted one, and glad I executed it when the time came.
But what about that celebration? Was that planned?
I don't even know if it was intentional or not, it just happened.
And going back to Childers for a quick second, I asked Coach this, and basically I just asked him, is there anything that you've seen in him, that sort of helped him take that next step for the team? Is there anything you see maybe in practice or outside of practice where you've seen that level of growth that he needs to take?
I mean, he spends an incredible amount of time in the film room, and I think that's really helped him step his game up the past 2 seasons. I think that's a lot of what's helped him so much.
Trey?
Just like what Ty said, every time I'm here, Marcus is here, so we feel like he's taking, day by day type of growth, and that's what we like to see in our guy. I mean, and Marcus is our guy, so we're always going to stick behind him through everything, and he's going to take us where we need to go.